I am going to show you that the banks, they're coming after your money. That stuff. And they're going to seize it. Also, I will be exposing the WEF. Oh, happy days here on the YouTubes. Where they say, oh, you said that word. Looks like you won't be in anyone's feed today, but that is okay because I come bearing the truth. And the truth will set you free. Kind of like, hey, Fed now. They're all ready. This is what it's going to look like. Send payments to Saul Taylor sent you $120 right on the Fed's balance sheet. This is going to work perfectly. So, and at some point there will be a panic and everyone's going to run to it. I know you'll be like, no, I'm not until like, then you kind of have to. And then let me just show you, you'll own nothing and you know the end of that, right? But I have a 4-step plan for you. And if you're short on time, I have a 3-step plan for you. Number 1, there will be crisis. You haven't seen crisis yet. First, step 1, well, actually pre-step 1, oh, now there's too many steps. Tighten the monetary supply, okay? And then the things start to break. So you're going to have a crisis because they tighten the monetary supply. That was a tough word for me. Then you're going to have a recession, and then they're going to keep it tight, and then you're going to have a depression. But in the meantime, to solve this, you're going to have a crisis. I don't know what the crisis is yet. You're starting to see some of the dominoes fall, but you haven't seen anything yet. And then you will see panic, not at the disco. This is panic because you're like, I don't know what to do. Do I do the right thing or do I do the wrong thing? Remember, last 2 years, you had a choice. Right thing or wrong thing. Panic, number 3, that was 2, panic. 3, close the banks. Probably be on a weekend. It'll be a holiday. That's usually how they pull this stunt. And it's usually right around Christmas time. And then they will offer you, ta-da, the solution that's been in the works for a while. And also, this isn't just breaking news because I've been breaking it for probably the last 24 months. I'm just trying to figure out how this whole chess game is played or being played out. I can see it's being played. I just can't be 100% accurate. I'm like, then they're going to do exactly this at this time. So my apologies if I do not get the timing right. But as this article says, well, the birth of the biostate. So, you know, you take health. Oh, we got a problem here. Just go away. Lock yourselves down. Just 2 weeks. And then you have other organizations that handle everything. I mean, did you ever think like Center for Disease Control would be handling whether you come out of your house or not, whether businesses survive or not, or the Second Amendment? Yep, they're pushing. It's crazy, right? See, it's supposed to be, the government's supposed to not have these kind of things. But we go outside that little pesky Constitution, and then you're like, well, I guess I got to follow the rules. And now you have track and trace apps. You got the UN, you got the Klaus Schwabs, you got everyone coming together right now, and they've all been talking about it, and I will share with you the videos. This was at the G20 meeting in Bali. And then we have what? Yep, passports, digital health ID. We have facial recognition. Oh, you want to travel? Well, you haven't been a good boy or a good girl because you were in a lot of debt. You're not allowed to be in a lot of debt. Oh, but we have the solution. We will clear out your debt. Everything will be fine. We got the Fed. They will handle it. Trust the Fed. Never fight the Fed. Remember that tattoo you got? Because, and it's not just you, it's everyone is up to here in debt. And I'll go into that in just a second. Banks too. Banks stuck with $42 billion of debt. Sees chance to offload it. I mean, everyone's in debt. Look, you're currently in debt $247,882 that you got to pay back because you got cool stuff. You got shiny things that the government thought it would be of your best interest that they buy it, not for you, but just for the good of the people.
So let's talk a little bit about CBDCs. I see that they're pushing it a lot. There's a lot of news that the Fed, New York Fed, recently tested it. The Bank of England is working on it. How do you see CBDCs? And I personally don't. I just think it's a replacement, a technological replacement for a system that's dying, the fiat currency systems. But maybe you've got a different opinion on it.
Well, I think it's quite likely that the CBDC will arrive, and it will also be the subject of the currency reset at the same time. At some point, the world is going to go into a crisis, or a country is going to go into a crisis. It might be the UK, it might be Italy, might even be the United States, but something is going to happen. Things are very, very taut in the financial world at the moment. When that happens, I think they will close the banks. You'll wake up on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning and hear the news that they've shut the banks, they're not going to open on Monday. And then by Monday evening or Tuesday, you'll get the announcement that we're having a new currency, the CBDC, and don't worry, it'll be 1-to-1 against the old currency. But there'll be some restrictions on your ability to convert your old money into the new money. So if you're poor and you have a small bank account, it'll be converted 1-to-1 straight away. And you'll probably even find that you get a free gift from the government to kickstart the system. Maybe £3,000 or £5,000 will be given to every citizen gratuitously to kickstart the system in the new CBDC. But if you have 100,000 or 1 million in the bank, you're going to be told, yes, it's 1-to-1, but you're going to have to wait to convert it to the new currency. Now, wait means never. We all know that, but they won't tell you that. They'll say it's a temporary suspension because we're in the middle of a crisis. The people are rioting in the streets and we need to calm the system. So here's some free money, everybody. Go and enjoy yourselves. And by the way, the rich can't convert their money for a while, but they'll be able to do so later. So if you happen to own Apple bonds, they'll be denominated in the old dollars. You won't be able to, it'll still be old dollars. You won't be able to convert those old dollars until you've got the cash. But when you get the cash, you'll need permission to do it. And you're not going to get that permission. It'll be exactly like we had in Britain back before 1975, when we had the exchange controls. You needed permission from the Bank of England. I mean, I remember when I traveled abroad the first time, I was allowed to take £50 with me abroad. Didn't go very far.
No, and yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I think when the CBD, I think the CBDC will arise as a consequence of a crisis. And when that happens, there will be a limitation on how much of your old currency you can convert at 1-to-1 with the new one, even though technically it'll be 1-to-1, so you've lost nothing. But the advantage of this, from the government's point of view, is it's to all intents and purposes wiping the slate clean, because all of their liabilities will be denominated in a currency that nobody can use, nobody can spend. So if the crisis is generated by people rushing to try and convert their money into something, into anything, firewood or whatever they're trying to do, they won't be able to use their old currency unless they are, the poor man will be able to use it. But anybody with any wealth, like the government of China, will be stuck. So the government will be able to print away its old liabilities without any worries at all, because nobody will be able to spend it and it won't be able to affect the economy. The only thing which can affect the economy is the new CBDC, which will be, at least initially, touted as very sound money, at least until they start borrowing in the new currency. But then they've got a fairly long lease of life, because they'll be starting from a debt to GDP ratio of effectively 0, because they won't need to count the old debt. Of course they will from an accounting point of view, but it won't be affecting the economy anymore.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yashai, Bashem Kakwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, for the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negros, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about Fed Now and how it is the coming system which will usher in the MOTB. Okay, now in the videos you just saw, those two investors, right? The first guy, he's a trade analyst, and also he's a day trader, and he basically shows you how to basically make money, how to sell. Like on Amazon and all this stuff, and he's really good at bringing out the details of what's going on in the markets, right? To show you what's going on in Esau's economy. a little goofy, whatever, but either way, the guy has good news. Okay. Now, the next guy, he was a ex-Swedish banker, I believe, right? Retired, but he still dabbles in the market. And both of those men gave examples of how this is going to likely go down. You see, everything that we're living through today, through the gradual, or should I say, quick inflation rates rising, all the way to the losses of the jobs which we're about to go through, and even the everything affecting the economy is all part of Esau's plan, right? Let's get this before I go into any more. In 2 Corinthians 2:11, at least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Right? And what are the devices of Satan? Well, first and foremost, you have to understand that Satan, the spiritual entity, right, the one that's depicted with like horns and a forked tail, and that doesn't exist, right? That's all made up by the false church doctrine, right? Satan, he's simply an angel, right? He could look like a man, he could be a spirit, right? But the thing is he is a left side angel, and a very powerful one, and he works for the Lord, and he does the Lord's bidding, right? He didn't rebel against the Lord. He never fell down to earth, right? That's, again, another church false doctrine. Well, like I said, Satan, because he's a powerful left side angel, he himself has entities upon the earth which he works his powers through. Those entities would be, first and foremost, the nation of Edom, the people who you would refer to today as the Caucasian race, and chiefly those elites at the top, right, of this power structure, right? This is why you're always hearing rumors, and you're seeing all these leaked whistleblowers coming out talking about how all the top politicians, they go to sacrificial rituals, or they're Satanists, or they're pagans, right? You hear about high-end celebrities, performing satanic rituals or all that type of stuff. The reason behind all that is because they actually worship Satan, okay? And they are doing Satan's will, right? And one of the will that Satan has is to perform the mass chipping of the people upon the face of the earth, right? To fulfill Revelations 13 and 16, right? The implementation of the MOTB, the mark of the people, right? The people in power right now, right? They are the beast, okay? That control NATO, which is the literal beast spoken about in Revelations, right? Now, that being said, this, what you just seen, FedNow, is a device of these Edomites, okay? And they're going to use this to usher in the world, namely the America population, into the MOTB. You see, because we're about to start using this here in America, right? Not yet, but soon, right? And in fact, in about, today's the 6th, well, I believe it's on the 13th is when Biden's executive order for basically the adoption, it's called like the responsible Digital Currencies Act or something like that. But for the most part, it allows the government to get in on digital currencies, right? CBDCs. And then what you're going to experience is exactly what that first guy said, right? We're going to have crisis. Then we're going to have a tight economy. Basically, Esau's going to make it hard to get by, right? If you're not already suffering with, living paycheck to paycheck and barely making it, you may fall into that realm after the beginning of next year, right? And then eventually it's going to get to the point where the society here in America is going to get to the point where they're going to start to panic, right? And this is where you're going to get these mass riots. This is where Jeremiah 7, Jacob's trouble comes into play, where there's going to be sedition, martial law, and whatnot, because people are just going to start rioting because they won't have enough food to eat. We've already been seeing how they systematically have been dismantling the food system, right? From the farmers all the way to the stores, to the logistics of getting it to the stores, right? So not only is there going to be a smaller selection to choose from, but because of the economy, it's going to cost even more, right? So this is, if you thought inflation was already bad, just wait till next year, right? These devils, they're basically doing all they can so that way when they bring forward their solution, you're going to beg for it, okay? And FedNow is simply going to be one of the solutions. Now, these devils have already implemented it, right? And as you can see here, it's set up to basically encompass the entire economic system, right? From core banking providers, corporate credit unions, bankers banks, right? All the way down to the consumers, businesses, merchants, and retailers, right? It's going to touch all these industries that use payment systems, okay? So this is going to be the new payment system, right? This is going to be the new digital dollar that we've all been talking about, right? Because the dollar is going away. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a new digital currency, and this is going to be referred to as the FedNow dollar or the digital dollar, right? But we'll see what Esau's catchy marketers come up with. But like I said, this has been in the works for a while now, right? Biden, I believe back in May of 2001, or basically May, springtime, he actually wrote the executive order to basically make the government to start to adopt and look into CBDCs, right? And why is that? Because, let's read it again, because these are his devices. These are the mechanisms, right? As the apostles say, the machinations that Esau is creating to ultimately lead the world down to that agenda of getting everybody microchipped so that way they can control and enslave everybody, not only physically but spiritually as well. Let's go and read this article so you understand what FedNow, like how it was set up. It says, the FedNow instant payment service is coming in 2023. Again, this was written back in August 2022, so basically 4 months ago. The Federal Reserve will launch the payment platform in 2023 between May and July. Over 100 companies are participating in pilot, including FIS, Opus, and Vsoft. These are basically payment systems, right? Payment carriers, I believe. The Federal Reserve revealed it will launch its new instant payment service in mid-2023, sometime between mid and July. The instant payment service will be called FedNow, which was first announced in 2020. The advantage of it says financial institutions of any size will have access to the new payment system. Both customers and businesses will benefit from lower cost and near instant payments. So this is one thing I like to focus on right here, just real quick, because this is the thing. They're not going to get rid of the dollar, right? But they're going to definitely make using the dollar very unattractive. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to start to charge you for using it, right? You're going to basically pay a tax, a hidden tax, for using dollars, right? You're not going to see, prices in dollars be higher than the prices for digital currencies, right? You'll still be able to buy the same product at the same price. But what you're going to start seeing is that all these banks that are participating in this new CBDC, right? The central bank digital currency for the government, they're going to start saying that handling money and making it available to you is a burden to them. And for that burden, they're going to have to start charging you, okay? This is the same reason why now savings accounts don't have high interest rates, right? If even an interest rate at all. Usually because of inflation, it's a negative interest rate, which means if you put $100 in your savings account, come 6 months to a year later, you may be able to pull out $100, but that $100 is technically only worth, let's say, maybe $82, $86 because of inflation, and hence you've lost your, your purchasing power. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? They're going to start charging more for services that have to do with the old money system, and then also just inflation is going to hit hard. And why is that? Well, because you see, the government printed, I think it was $18 trillion, and they took that for themselves and they stuck you with inflation, right? Or should I say us with the inflation, right? Because I'm included in that too. This is why everything has been going up. This is why all these prices are constantly rising, right? Because not only is the U.S. government printing more money, as fast as they could run these presses, but all these other countries who had adopted and taken on U.S. debt as a means to hold on to something that will be worth more in the future, they're now seeing that the ship is sinking, right? And they're making their ways to the lifeboats, right? This is why, for example, Japan has just been dumping U.S. debt, right? Basically trying to just buy up things. And this is why in the near future, you're going to start seeing a lot of places, a lot of businesses, and a lot of, I guess you could call them assets, like parks, shipping yards, things like that, just be sold to Arabs, Japanese, Chinese, all these people that come from these countries who have purchased up tons and tons of U.S. debt, right? Well, what's happening is they're basically dumping their dollars, and how do they do that? Well, they simply use the dollars to buy things that they want, right? And ultimately, that's what we should do, right? We should ultimately prepare ourselves just like these other nations and all these other people are doing, right? But there's a difference between the way we prepare ourselves and the way that the heathen prepares themselves, right? Like, yes, we gotta, like the apostles say, we should try to, get a little extra food, try to, pull out your money, buy you some silver and gold. But the most important thing that we can do to prepare ourselves is to basically get into this truth and understand what truly is going on, understand the words of the Lord, right? This is Ephesians 6:13. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand, right? And that's ultimately what you want to do, man. You see, because not only is there going to come economic hard times upon America and also around the world, but you're going to start seeing a lot of spiritual, there's a spiritual war getting played, right? This is what the whole, trans reading to kids is about, the whole, people changing their genders, all that you're seeing, man, the adoptions of just all these crazy, marriage laws and all stuff, the fighting for reproductive rights and all this stuff, all that right there you're seeing, man, is all spiritual warfare that is being played out in front of your eyes, but it's being presented to you as some sort of political movement or other anything else but the truth that's being presented to you as. But that being said, you have to make sure that you have put on the whole armor of God, which is learning about these truths, understanding the laws and living them, right? Also, getting a proper understanding of the scriptures, so that way when you see what's going on, you see these people losing their shit because their political party, for the umpteenth time didn't do what they said they were going to do, right? These idiots out here are still believing this, right? And they're going to be going crazy, and what that's going to cause is what you've been seeing on social media, where you're going to have people coming out, lock and loaded, and start causing havoc. And why? Because the system, the facade of a political system that is there for the people is not really there for the people. It is simply there to distract you, okay? And that means that us Israelites, us Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we gotta basically be self-dependent. We can't depend on Esau's system, especially when you understand that the Bible tells you that it is collapsing in these times, right? So if you lean on Esau's system, then what's going to happen is that you're ultimately going to fall with it. And this is the biggest fall that Esau wants you to take, which we're out here warning you about, right? This is Revelations 13-16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's 666. Okay? And so you see, what's happening is that while Esau's preparing this large stumbling block for the world, right, by getting everybody to become basically crippled and, having to take that bow, he's going to present this solution, right, this FedNow, as a solution for you, right? It's going to be the answers to all your prayers. But the only thing you're going to need to do is first comply to Esau's system. And what does that mean? Well, what we've been seeing rumor screenshots of is that, this whole new payment system is going to include a jab status, right? And that jab status is ultimately going to be tied to some sort of social credit score, right? And they're not going to call it a social credit like they do in China. They're going to make it more oblivious. They're going to call it something like, I don't know, like Citizens Award or Patriot Points or something like that, right? To where it's going to make people want to, get a higher score and hence, fulfill, their duties as an American, right? To make this place a better place. And it's going to be just like that Black Mirror episode where that lady was in that society where everybody was being rated on their phones. That's exactly what we're going to, right? Where we're going to have digital payments. We're going to have a social credit score system in place. We're going to have a system where, as you heard in that first video, where you're going to own nothing, right? And the thing is that you're going to ultimately be forced to be happy, or just like in that Black Mirror episode, you're going to get docked, right? You ain't going to be able to participate, right? And ultimately what's going to happen is down the road, like I've said it many times, along with the apostles have said it, and all the men of Great Millstone have said it, right? That they're going to cause some sort of, fraud crisis or something like that, where they're going to have to, come out with a reason for you to have to take an implant in your hands or in your head, right? And then, and it's also going to be provided as a benefit, right? You can see it right now happening with Elon Musk Neuralink's company, right? They're starting to show what these brain chips are capable of, right? And not only that, but within the next year or two, mark my words, you're gonna see people coming out and using those brain chips as an advantage, right? You're gonna start seeing people start to talk about how they're able to do all these amazing, feats, that defied logic, all because they had the brain chip, okay? And that unfortunately is gonna mislead a lot of people. But again, it is what it is, This is Matthew's 24:13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And that's ultimately what this is all about, Akim. We're going to have to stay here and go through all these events, right? So that being said, what I had said earlier about being prepared, right? About, preparing for the hard times to come, right? Like ultimately the Lord, if you're part of the elect, he's going to have you, right? And he's going to make sure that you perform what you need to perform. But the thing is that you also have to get that in your mindset. You got to understand that, you can't just be sitting on the couch, not teaching, not learning, not doing anything and think that the Lord's going to, basically bring down everything you want or everything you need to survive in a cloud from heaven. No, that ain't going to happen, man. You got to take charge. You got to, study, show yourself approved, and then ultimately, then take the actions to prepare for what's coming. What is that? Esau's devices, okay, that are going to ultimately try to lead us all to this MOTB, which is the microchips, which are going to go in your hands or your foreheads, that are going to interact with these digital payment systems, not only here in America, but all over the world. You're seeing, India just announced they're starting to use it. I believe Germany also is doing it. I know Estonia, after the Ukraine invasion, they jumped all on board, with digital payment systems, right? So either way, Akim, it's coming. We can see it, and this is your warning. So, get right, do right, study the scriptures, and avoid this as much as you can. So hopefully this video was edifying, Akim. So the next time, we'll give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Rakah Kodash, double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.